So it has a brew, ginger Le Creuset mug, Twinings everyday breakfast tea. No, Twinings breakfast, English breakfast tea, not everyday tea, because everyday tea's cheaper than than its breakfast tea. Severe lack of any real storm outside. It is Saturday, and there was supposed to be some horrendous storm coming to the southwest. But for all intents and purposes, it's been reasonably sunny. It's pissed down with rain a few times, but not too bad. It's actually quite a chill weekend for me. I'm not going to go into town. I'm just going to chill out. Got my PJBs on, kick back, relax. So yeah, it's actually going to be quite a nice, relaxed weekend as opposed to my usual weekends, which generally tend to be reasonably busy because I've got no time to do it in the week. So I've got a load of news to talk about, and it might end up being about half an hour long. So strap yourselves in, grab yourself a brew, and we'll get started. Now, if you remember, I don't know, a couple of months ago, maybe a month ago, King.com trademarked the word candy, which they did so in America, because they can't do it over here, because over here we are actually quite sensible, and you cannot trademark common words. So any common words like that, you just cannot trademark, because they're in the English dictionary, or they're in the English language, and because they're so common, you can't trademark that. You can't call your company that and then say, well, we now own the trademark for, sweets or whatever. I'm going to have to apologise for the ISO performance because I've had to put it up to 800 ISO and I'm now going to be really blown out. But if I put it down to 400 ISO, I'm then too gloomy, and when the sun goes down, well, when the sun disappears in a minute, it'll then be I'll be too dark and you won't be able to see me. Anyway, UK law basically dictates that you can't trademark things that are common. So, for instance, you couldn't call your company... you couldn't call your company like Handles Incorporated and then trademark the word handles, because handles is a word that's been used. It's so common, everybody uses it, and so therefore you can't trademark it. The same will be true for candy. Candy is not, as a trademark, is not trademarkable in the UK, and they can't enforce it in the UK. They can, however, do so in the US, because pretty much all the companies that are actually going to matter are going to be based in the US, so the likes of the Google Play Store and Apple Store and everything like that. So what happened was, Apple's store has been bombarded with candy-themed games in protest of the word candy being trademarked, which is on Engadget. I'll put all the links in the description below where you can find out all the articles to talk about. It's a big protest called Candy Jam, which was kind of organised, and things like candy, C-A-N, and then the letter D. This game is not about candy, or one word was another one that was submitted. Can die, which is C-A-N-D-I-E all together, all one word. Quite amusing. And Candy _ game was another one, which is quite funny, really, but obviously King is actually going to try and submit legal documents for all of those and try and sue them, so that's kind of interesting. And the other thing King.com are doing is they're suing a game called The Banner Saga, because they think it sounds too similar to Candy Crush Saga, which it doesn't at all. You certainly cannot trademark the name Saga unless you're trademarking something to do with a company, like you call yourself Saga. You can't call yourself Saga because there's already another company called Saga, but that in itself, a saga it's a common word. You can't trademark that, and it doesn't even look. The Banner Saga and Candy Crush Saga are two completely different games. They're not even similar. They don't sound similar. And King.com is just being shit and being awful, which is why I shall never do business with them. I've never even played Candy Crush Saga because it's a shit game anyway, and it's played by old women. However, old women and people that are on Facebook, which essentially is old women now. But that's not going to make me want to buy the games now. I'm just going to boycott any game that they produce. Even if it's a really good game, I won't be buying it, and I won't be giving them any money because they don't deserve it. On the positive side of things, a Netherlands court has ordered the end to the Pirate Bay ban in the Netherlands, funnily enough. Basically, they were banned. The Pirate Bay site was banned in 2011, and as part of that, it kind of set a precedent to the EU and UK governments to then turn around and say, oh, well, let's ban it as well. The High Court in the UK has got ISPs to ban the website. The European Union initially banned it, and then they turned around and said, well, actually, you don't have to worry about that now, it doesn't matter. And we then didn't turn around and sort of... The High Court didn't then turn around and say, oh, we'll follow suit. They kind of just stayed where they currently are. And And well, on the good side, the anti-piracy group Brein, Brein, if that's how you pronounce it, is having to pay 400,000 euros or 547 US dollars or 330,000 Great British pounds of the ISP's legal costs, because they were the ones that kind of backed the whole thing in the first place. Which is good, because anti-piracy groups are pointless and stupid. Basically, the reason why the court in the Netherlands has turned around and said there's no point, just get rid of the ban, is because they don't see any point in trying to police it, because people are still accessing the website through VPNs and proxies anyway, so there's no point. And so therefore, like we've all said along, there is no point to banning websites, because all you can do is you go into a VPN and you can access it anyway. So bans are pointless anyway, because the people that actually want to get onto it are going to get onto it anyway, and those that, couldn't really give a shit, those are the only people you're going to affect. So it is interesting, and one of the things that's happening over here is some ISPs are looking at that court case and seeing whether or not they can then go through the motions of trying to get them to unban the website through the high courts. So that'll be interesting, and that's also quite good. Because the argument is that the Pirate Bay doesn't host anything. They don't actually host anything. All they host is torrent files, and torrent files can link to anything they like. It just so happens that the Pirate Bay the torrent files that the Pirate Bay hosts link to illegal content, or content that is royalty free and stuff like that. You don't have to pay for it. But actually, BitTorrent as a service is great. It's a fantastic protocol. But that's the trouble. When you mention BitTorrent, everybody thinks, oh, illegal. Actually, you can transfer anything you like through BitTorrent. In fact, I usually do. I often, if there's a BitTorrent version of an ISO file, for instance, so a company wants to distribute something via BitTorrent, I'll download it through that because it saves them money on their servers and, hosting it through AWS or anything like that. So it's good for them. And it's good for us because it means you get better speeds and everything like that. And things remain free and cheaper and everything else. Now, another thing the OFT have done, which is the Office of Fair Trading, stupidly in my opinion, because this is parents' fault, but hey-ho, there you go, they're giving app creators a 2-month deadline over in-app changes, basically because parents are idiotic and they give their kids smartphones and stuff like that, and then they tie their credit cards to them, and then they're supposed to locking it down, their kids, create this huge massive bill of thousands of pounds, and the parents are like, oh no, I didn't even realise this was happening, and they cry to Apple, and Apple then give them the money back, for instance, and same with Google. And basically what the OFT have turned around and said is, you've got to make it clear when you download the app what kind of charges are going to be. You can't get, and the other thing they've got to change is you can't make the characters look sad if they're not going to get something. So if there's an in-app purchase that makes your character better, you can't advertise that it's going to make your character better, because to children that are undereducated, it doesn't look very good, and so therefore they kind of want to change that. But basically, it is all down to parenting. If you're stupid enough to buy your kid, like a kid that's under, before secondary school age, if you're stupid enough to buy your kid a smartphone or an iPad and not lock it down and not lock down the app store and the in-app purchase and everything else, which you can do, you've been able to do for ages and ages, and it's simple and easy to do. If you can't be bothered to do that, then it's your own stupid fault. And if you are stupid enough, say, to lend your business iPad to your kids, again, it's your own stupid fault. I don't see why the government needs to intervene. The OFT, Office of Fair Trading, is a government organisation, kind of, sort of ish. It's third party, but it is funded by the government. It's not down to the government to police parenting. If parents are stupid enough to give their kids expensive kit and then not police it themselves, then, it's the same with filtering on the internet as well. It's exactly the same kind of, area of stupidity. Now, there's an interesting article on The Verge at the moment, not The Verge, The Next Web even, and there's they've kind of quoted a blog. It's a really interesting read. I'm not really going to go too in depth with it. I'll put it in the link in the description below. It's called How I Lost My $50,000 Twitter Username. It's really interesting. Go and check it out. Basically, it looks at how somebody's managed to steal a Twitter handle called @n. On Twitter, and it's very, very interesting. It's about PayPal giving away details they shouldn't have given away, and then GoDaddy changing somebody's ownership permissions, without much in the way of security and loads of other bits and pieces. And it's kind of led this person to have to give their Twitter username away, which was @n. And I don't know what's going on with it. I suspect Twitter will probably give it back to him, because I suspect once they figure out what's going on with it all, they'll probably try and find something out and go from there. But no, it's a really interesting read. Check it out down below. Another interesting piece of news, which isn't really properly news. Tim Hortons, which is a coffee chain in North America, I think it's just Canada actually. It might be the USA as well. I'm not too sure. But they unveiled the Blackberry donut. A tweet by the Toronto Maple Leafs, which is our hockey team, I kind of watch a lot of hockey. The Canucks are pretty much not my hockey team, the hockey team that I generally support and generally watch because they're quite interesting and quite good. And the Toronto Maple Leafs, their fans are just generally a bunch of dicks. The team itself isn't actually bad, but their fans are just, ugh. But anyway, the Toronto Maple Leafs tweeted, "Who's hungry? A special guest will be buying some @Tim Hortons on the new @Blackberry Timmy Me app." So BlackBerry are creating this new app, and they've teamed up with Tim Hortons, to create this donut, which is a BlackBerry themed donut, which is quite cool. They've actually got a 0% market share in America at the moment. 0% is obviously it doesn't mean that there's nobody using BlackBerries. I mean, it kind of does, but it's just less than 1%. So it's so minute in terms of the market share value that it's not even worth reporting on any pie charts or anything like that. It's a bit of a shame because BlackBerry have been trying hard and they've been moving things forward, but it's not working for them because they've done too many bad things in the past. So in Canada at the moment, they're actually not doing too bad. I don't know the actual market share figures, but they're actually not doing too bad, which is pretty good for BlackBerry. And obviously BlackBerry is a Canadian company, but it's interesting. I mean, whether or not they just go down the route of let's just license our name to people and then they can put it on things like donuts, I don't know, and that's how they make the money. But no, I suppose that's a bit of a snippet of interesting news. The big bit of news, though, is Google sells Motorola to Lenovo for $2.91 billion. That's US dollars, which is very interesting, and it kind of sets a precedent, I guess, in terms of the market. But let's actually look at what Lenovo got as part of the deal and kind of what it actually means, because a lot of people don't really understand what it means. A lot of news articles are also reporting it inaccurately as well. So basically what Lenovo is doing as part of that $2.91 billion deal is they get 2,000 patents, which means that Google keep the majority of Motorola's patents to use within the Android infrastructure and loads of other places that's really, really handy for Google to have. So Lenovo aren't really getting very much in the way of actual patents. The patents they get, 2,000 patents, that's pathetic, that's pittance, that's nothing. So they're not in it for the patents at all. They're not in it for the hardware either. What Lenovo actually want is they want to buy it for its name. They're just buying the name. They're buying the licensing for the name so that they can move into third world countries within a year is basically their plan. So they want to bring smartphones to develop countries within a year. I can't even talk at all today. Which is interesting because in the US, Motorola is the third most popular handset behind Apple and just trying to think what else now. Motorola brand is, however, very strong, and therefore that's kind of what Lenovo want to kind of build on. Lenovo is actually quite a big phone manufacturer anyway in terms of the world. I think it's like third biggest. It's bigger than Sony and HTC and all these other companies, LG, and they make loads of phones, but they want to kind of move into developing markets, which is quite interesting. A quote from Larry Page, which is from the Google blog, which again I'll put a link in the description below. He's quoted as saying, Lenovo has the expertise and track record to scale Motorola into a major player within the Android ecosystem. They have a lot of experience in hardware and they have global reach. In addition, Lenovo intends to keep Motorola's distinct brand identity. Just as they did when they acquired the ThinkPad from IBM in 2005, Google will retain the vast majority of Motorola's patents, which we will continue to use to defend the entire Android ecosystem, which is kind of interesting. Like I say, I'll put the link in the description below. It'll be interesting to see where they take it, and obviously if they then move more towards the third world kind of countries and the developing world countries, it will be interesting and to see how they move it forwards. I don't know whether or not it will actually be any good because, say, they're not actually getting any of the hardware and they're not getting any of the people that were part of Motorola. So it will be interesting. It's a bit of a shame for, I mean, not necessarily a bit of a shame for Google because they've still got the hardware, they don't own the name anymore. But obviously now Google have got their own kind of Motorola people and phone people. They can actually create some stuff with them, and they kind of own a part of they own a kind of a phone company like Microsoft does now with Nokia, although Nokia is kind of diving off a precipice at the moment, but you know, that's kind of quite interesting. The other thing I wanted to talk about was Windows 8 and Microsoft and mistakes and everything like that. So Mashable have actually got quite an interesting article called Microsoft may be getting ready for a huge Windows 8.1 flip-flop, basically because they're going with a default boot to desktop update. So the next version of Windows 8.1 or the next major Windows 8.1 update is going to default to boot to desktop. Basically because nobody really wants an interface like that on a desktop. Microsoft has shot themselves in the foot like they did with the Xbox, and they went with something. They thought, yeah, this is where things are going to go, this is what people want. And as opposed to listening to what people want, they just kind of went ahead with it. And it's not kind of worked out as well for them. Don't get me wrong, I think Windows 8 is amazing. Windows 8 is better than Windows 7 in so many ways, and if you ignore the Windows 8 interface, you know, you ignore the new start screen, you ignore that, it's amazing. It's so much better than Windows 7, it's faster, it's better, the memory management's better, it just works better, task manager's better, just everything about it is better, apart from that start menu. It's unnecessary, it's annoying, and on a desktop environment it just does not work. What Microsoft were stupid enough to do was say, they made a decision, as opposed to listening to what the consumers wanted, they just went with it. They took a dive and thought, let's do what Apple look like they're going to do. Let's just go and do it now. You know, let's have a unified interface for everything, which is a good idea, but not within a desktop environment like that. And certainly don't, you know, if you're going to do that, fine, but you have to have a bit of changeable, you know, your mobile operating system has to be slightly different to your, you know, your desktop operating system, which has got to be slightly different again to, say, maybe your laptop operating system, and then again to things like the Xbox and stuff like that. I think it's a really good idea to have a consistent theme across the board, to have everything look similar, so that if you are a customer and you buy an Xbox and you've got a PC and everything else and a smartphone, it all ties together. It's really easy to use. It's all part of the Microsoft ecosystem, and that's great. The reality of it is the majority of people, you know, just the general everyday average public don't buy things because they're all in one. They buy things because of money and because of what they look like and everything else. Majority of people, well, as a percentage, maybe not. Majority of people have Android phones because of cost and because of many other things. A lot of people have iPhones because they look cool and everything else. But majority of people don't then have Mac stuff on top of that because they're stupidly expensive and they're too specialised and nobody has them. So they have a PC. So they have a different phone and then a PC, and then they'll either have a PlayStation or an Xbox. If they have an Xbox, yeah, okay, that ties in with the ecosystem, but if they have a PlayStation, the only thing you get in there is a PC. The PC is the only thing that's part of the Microsoft ecosystem, and therefore, it's not needed for them. You know, they don't want all this shit. They don't want the Microsoft Store. They don't want all that crap. Yeah, fair enough, include it. You know, include it as an optional extra when you install the operating system, or include it as a hidden extra you can enable, or, you know, just include the Microsoft Store as a separate program like you would before with Windows 7, and just be done with it. Because it's not working. Now, I was actually having a conversation with one of the support team managers at work. We were talking about Microsoft and, you know, the state of enterprise and where it's going to go for enterprise customers, and it's quite an interesting chat, and as part of that, you know, what we came to the conclusion of was that Microsoft are going to backpedal, like they did with the Xbox One. they're going to backpedal because it's not working, and because people are slagging it off, and because the sales are dipping off, and everything else. And so what will happen is you'll have like a Windows 8.2 update, or maybe even just a completely new operating system. They might just say, Windows 8 is going to be like this, we made a mistake, oh dear, we're sorry, like they did with Vista, like they did with ME. They do it all the time. Like every other operating system is shit. You had 98, then you had Windows ME, that was crap. Then you had Windows XP, which is fucking amazing. Then you had Windows Vista, which was shit. Then you had Windows 7, which is fucking amazing. You've got Windows 8, which is effing amazing, but there's that big, huge problem with it, which is the start menu is crap. Yeah, you can install third-party applications to get rid of it, like Start is Back, and there's another one like Classic Shell or Classic Start Shell or something. But anyway, but they're third-party programs. You shouldn't have to install that to make it usable. It is usable. I mean, I've used it now since the developer preview, since the beta days. I've been running it for more than 2 years now. No, not more than 2 years. A year? More than a year even, because it came. The developer preview came out in April, maybe February, something like that. So last year. And I've got used to it. I know all the shortcuts to it. It's fine for me. I can be productive on it. In actual fact, I'm more productive on that than I am on Windows 7 now. Simply for the fact that things like the Task Manager, because Task Manager for things like networking is great for Windows 8, and there just isn't anything equivalent for Windows 7. Even there's just nothing. You just can't get it. There's some third-party things, but they're all crap. They don't look very nice. They just don't work properly. So I think that's what's going to happen. I think Microsoft will backpedal, and they'll say. Either they won't backpedal now, they'll just, in the next version of Windows, they'll have a Windows 9, which will be Windows 9 Desktop, Windows 9 Tablet, and they'll split it up. And yeah, you might have some interchangeability there. They might sync out across applications and stuff like that. But it just doesn't work. And to be honest, there's no point going into the tablet space for Microsoft because they're just not grabbing the market, because it's not what people really want. People will either go for an Android tablet or an Apple an iPad. That's literally all they're going to go for. They're not going to go for anything else. As people have realised, it doesn't work. HP, when they bought WebOS from somebody and released their tablet, that failed miserably. It's the same with BlackBerry's Playbook, that failed miserably. And no, I don't think any of these ecosystems are necessarily bad. I mean, I've got a Playbook and it's a piece of shit. The operating system is really good, but the performance is crap because the hardware's shit. But, I don't think necessarily any of the other options are bad. It's just that people are used to that thing. They've always had that thing. That's what everybody wants. That's what people aspire to be. And then, let's be honest, unless you're a geek or a techie, you're not going to be part of one ecosystem. Unless you are a proper nerdy person, like me, but even I wouldn't, go with an all-in-one ecosystem because it's a stupid idea. But only geeks and nerds go with one thing across the board, like and people with money as well. So somebody that's really passionate about Apple stuff will literally have Apple everything. They'll have a Mac, they'll have a MacBook Pro, they'll have an iPad, they'll have an iPhone, they'll have Apple TV, and they'll stream everything across their entire ecosystem is all in one. And it's really good and it works really well. Because it's all part of that one ecosystem. The same goes with somebody else who might just really love Microsoft stuff. They'll have a PC running Windows 8. They might have a laptop running Windows 8 as well. Then they'll have something like an Xbox, and then they'll have a Windows Phone, and then they might even have a Windows tablet as well. And yeah, it's an all-in-one thing that looks really good. For them, it works really well. And it's the same again when you go even more geeky and you go, right, I'm going to go everything open source. So you'll have Linux as your operating system on your PC, which will probably then be your gaming platform as well. You might then maybe have PlayStation 4 on top of that. Then you'd be running Android as well as your phone. Your tablet probably the same. And for your home theatre setup, it'll be something like a Raspberry Pi with XBMC on it, or a dedicated media center with XBMC on it. You really know your shit. You're a proper, you're a network admin or something like that. And that's the kind of people that are going to be having an all-in-one interface. Nobody else. And even the likes of me, I'm not going to have an all-in-one interface because that's stupid. I have Android because I need Android for work. I would really like an iPhone. Don't get me wrong, I think the new iPhone 5S is amazing and I really want one. But I can't use it every day because I need it for work. I need to be able to do Wi-Fi scanning. I need to be able to do penetration testing. I need to be able to do loads of other bits and pieces which both go part and parcel with what I do as my day job and also what I do as freelance work as well. And so I need that. So I can't have anything else other than an Android phone, because Apple's iPhone you can't do anything with. In terms of tablets, I have an iPad and I will upgrade to another iPad, and I have a Nexus 7, which I either will upgrade to another Nexus 7, the newer Nexus 7, or the iPad mini. Because really the tablet doesn't matter too much to me. The tablet really is an extension of my phone. All it really does is things like browsing, emails, video watching, that kind of stuff. When I'm travelling, really, I take it around to work with me, but only to do things like remote desktop and other bits and pieces like that, because I have my phone for other stuff to do with Wi-Fi and bits and pieces. And then obviously, I have a Windows machine, and then in terms of servers, I do have Windows servers running, and I have Linux servers running, and my router's a Linux box. My home theatre setup isn't really a home theatre setup, it's connected to my PC. Projector to my PC straight onto the wall. If I really, really wanted to move into one ecosystem, I just wouldn't do that, because that's not what I would want to do. I would probably actually move one thing into a Linux area. So I would have my Windows gaming PC, and everything else will be Linux based. I'd have a Linux server doing probably media storage, either a Linux server, dedicated Linux, so like Ubuntu or something, or something like FreeNAS, running my network attached storage. I'd maybe have a web server that would be Linux based as well. My router will always be Linux based, that's never going to go away, that's always going to be something, either IP-Fire or, well, not Untangled, because Untangled's gone to shit now, so it will just be IP-Fire, because there's no other alternatives out there that are actually any good. And then, my home theatre PC will be Linux, it will be XBMC, essentially. Phones, tablets will either be Apple or Android, and that'll be that. I mean, I might get a Mac in the future to learn stuff, but that's not going to be, I'm not going to move into that area, because that's not what I support day to day. I need to be able to support Windows, and so therefore Windows needs to be my primary operating system so I can learn shit. And so that when I get problems, I've then got the experience and expertise to then move that on to other people with the same problems. So yes, that was kind of a bit of a rant in terms of ecosystems and all-in-ones. I think Apple really are the only people that can get away with doing an all-in-one ecosystem, because they've got more fanboys that will do that, and so therefore for those kinds of, and because it's Apple, people might then think, oh, it's all-in-one ecosystem. Like the likes of my mum, for instance, she loves Apple stuff. She's a bit of an Apple fanboy. She has an iPhone. She really wants a Mac because it looks really cool and because it's easy to use. And to be honest, I support her with that. I think get a Mac because it means I don't have to support it. Although actually, to be fair, I don't really have to support my Windows machine I've set up, because I've set it up correctly. I don't think the only time I've ever had a problem is there's been a couple of times when there's been some viruses have kind of wheedled their way in, but by the time you run Spybot, that removes everything. By the time you run Microsoft Security Essentials, that pretty much blocks everything anyway. The Windows firewall was pretty solid, and I run Malwarebytes every once in a blue moon. The only maintenance I ever have to do with it is defrag it, and that's it. And all because I've removed admin rights from everybody apart from my mum, because my mum's reasonably switched on. For a woman in her 40s, she's not doing too bad in terms of being able to use a PC really well. She's not a complete noob. She does things quite well on her own. I mean, she's obviously not, she's not an advanced techie, but she gets by, which is good. So I give her admin rights, but everybody else doesn't have admin rights. None of the kids have admin rights. None of my siblings have admin rights. None of that. So my dad, everybody goes on one account, and yeah, they save things locally. They've not got any admin rights. It's kind of like a guest account. All you can do on it is literally browse the web, and that's it. You can save documents to it as well, but you can't run anything in admin, which is good. That's what you want to do. But yes, no, I would, if she had the money, I would switch her to Mac tomorrow. In actual fact, if she didn't need to use things like Office, like dedicated Office, I would move her to Ubuntu, because it's stupidly easy to use, and you cannot break that unless you go into the terminal and type shit in and go to root and give it root access. There's no way in hell you can break Ubuntu. But say because she needs to be able to use things like Office, and the kids need to be able to use things like Office, and everything else, it makes sense for them to just have Windows and, use that. And also when they then go into a business, they've always used Windows. They use Windows at school. It's just better for them when they go into the workplace and they actually know how to use Windows well. It's handy for them to know other operating systems, because it means that they're not complete noobs when it comes to things like that. And then they can say, oh, well, actually, I've been running Linux for a while and it looks really cool and all this other stuff. And then they can actually understand a little bit more about PCs, which is good. Obviously, I don't want to get them to be like proper geeks like me. I do hope that my ginger brother will be a bit more like that, but I don't know. I mean, he's 10, 11 now? I don't know. He's year 6, I think. He's just moved to Cubs this year, so he's a Cub Scout now. So I don't know what that age that is. 10? I should know, because I am actually a Cub Scout leader now. Well, I was, until I got seconded back down to Truro. But anyway, yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to say, really, about things. Hit me up on Twitter at AsYouChill. Send me an email at asyouchill@gmail.com. Let me know what you think about that Vegas video. Somebody asked for it. I think it was called Adar King or something like that. Was his with his YouTube handle. I'm not too sure. He sent me an email. It's a few email conversations. So he actually requested that. So let me know what you think. It was just a thing I thought, yeah, fair enough, I'll do that. Let me know what you think. It was a pain in the ass to render because I've got AMD graphics cards and I've got a graphics card that's run by AMD, and it does not like multiple video streams. So when my Ugly Mug was there, it just did not. The frames went all nuts, and so I had to render it through an Intel 4000 HD chip as opposed to Core i5 as opposed to AMD stuff. So there you go. But yes, I think that's pretty much it. I am still in Truro, and I will be in Truro now until at least March, so unfortunately there will be some things that will have to be put on hold. I won't be able to do as many videos. I certainly won't be able to do very much in the way of the IP fire stuff, because I won't have time to do it. I'm going to have to try and see if I can do anything, maybe at home, I don't know. We'll have to see how it goes. Go from there. But yes, apart from that, I shall catch you in a later video.